The Nigerian Railway Corporation is one of the oldest institutions in the country. Of course, this place in Ebute, Metta, the railway compound, holds a special place in history, from personalities, buildings, to artifacts, from pre-colonial to post-colonial events. A walk down in this compound is a walk down memory lane. We are here today not only to trace the past, but to connect current situations and current events. You're welcome to Community Report. I am Dari Ido. Ebute Metta is a Yoruba word. Ebute means shoreline. And Metta is three. Put together, the compound word means three shorelines. After the amalgamation of 1914 and the construction of railways, Ebute Metta became a choice destination for many Nigerians traveling into Lagos. The area has a number of notable buildings, some of which are constructed at the Nigerian Railway Corporation headquarters during the colonial era. The railway premises covers a large expanse of land, by all means a full-blown community, with its own financial institution, police station, medical centers, and other key structures. That is what the community has grown into. The railway headquarters still retains some of its old historical buildings despite growing urbanization. The first Central Bank of Nigeria building, the first Post building were all at the NLC compound, although some of them have had to give way for urban renewal. One building that is still standing in that community, at least to remind everyone about the weight of history, is Jekyll House.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Jekyll House. Join me to take you through our history. This picture is very significant, and it's significant because this building, which was one of the initial residential properties developed on the compound, is named after this man called Francis Jekyll. Francis Jekyll was the last, would I say, British general managers of the railways, and he played a very important role in the railway history, where he documented a volume of books which really chronicled the history of railway in Nigeria. We think that having done such a very significant thing for the railway, we named this building after him, the Jekyll House. Come. Welcome to our mini museum. Like I had mentioned, this building was designed after the Victorian colonial architectural style, which meant that on the ground floor, which we entered through, is where you have the main living and activities, general public activities. On this floor, which is the first floor, is where the private rooms are. And as you can see, this is a veranda that surrounds two rooms in between, linked by the staircase. What we normally use here for is to showcase some of the rich heritage and history of Nigeria and additional exhibitions that we have as time happens. We can say that as a matter of fact, we host children on a school term. We host about 2,000 children every month in a school term, so about 6,000 in a school term. And it's amazing how we are able to engage them, help paint their imaginations, and the reaction is always very intense. As you can see here, we have two miniatures actually, of the railways, which were donated to us by very kind volunteers and interest groups. So what we have is we use this to give children an idea of what a train track is, some of what the elements are, so that they just have a clearer understanding that this thing actually exists in Nigeria. To bring it more home, I was mentioning earlier that in 2018, we were very glad to receive an interest from Oxford University to collaborate on the heritage and the history. Legacy, together with the Nigerian Railway Corporation, through something we call the Joint Committee. We set out and embarked on a documentation, observation, survey and documentation of key railway heritage sites across the country. We covered stations like Ibadan, Osun, Minna, Kaduna, Kano, even Abuja, Port Harcourt, Enugu, and Aba. And in this exercise, we're able to understand the current situation, the current management of the heritage artifacts and items across these cities. And I must say, Nigeria is really blessed. In terms of the detail, we have done an exhibition that showcases some items, some pictures, important things of note across these cities. And we're very glad that we are following the Federal Ministry to discuss opportunities to continue and make it a more immersive and community engagement. I will take you across to more important or other important places in here. Aha! So, in this room, we are very particular with telling people of some important items that we found across board within the railways ecosystem. I will start with these pictures. In 1995, and like I said, 94, 95, as a spate of trying to anticipate the new millennium, our then founder and president tried to identify some important places of note. We're able to do a calendar of the rich architecture heritage of Nigeria. We have items that are very important, such as this grill, such as this detail. Now, for this detail, to just show you, this was done in 1898. And in this detail, you see how a shutter is moving. It's a bit stiff now, but what this was done for was for ventilation. This building did not need any air conditioning, as it were. So what they did was that they managed the spacing and the aeration of this building via things that were done even before the internet became popular. Other items that I would see of note, as you can see, important bricks. It's good to note here that when bricks were used in the colonial period, we had them imported from abroad. And then these bricks oftentimes had things like brandishes, which is somebody branding. So a company would, maybe from Birmingham or any other important industrial city, would brand the bricks and send it, just like how you would brand a shoe or a bag. Now to focus more on the railways, these items are called key tokens. Key tokens were the communication equipment used across the railway system. What they did and what they represented was that they allowed people communicate from one station to another. As you can see, it's not functioning, it's just a relic. It's a funny looking telephone that allowed somebody in Ebute Metta call somebody else in preferably Ibadan. But what is more important is that the driver of the train would take a key from here, point A, Ebute Metta, and take that key and report that key that he has arrived as a way to log his presence at Ibadan. And then at will, the person managing or monitoring can call and communicate. So these are some of the important relics that I say have trickled down over the years in terms of the importance of the railways to date.
This is how, back then, this is how they tracked the movement?
That's how they track the movements. Yes, it's a bit more technical. There's a lot of wiring and cabling involved.
And also seem more like how you clock in, clock out.
How you clock in, clock out. So what you probably do with biometrics and, maybe Google Earth now was, and look at how, so this is just the mobile equipment. There's still more wiring, telegraph and signaling, which is what they used to call it now, signaling and telegraph at the time. So these are some of the important items. As you can see more, we have more important drawings, things that really just depict the rich history and heritage and things that we do.
So what are these?
So these are measuring tools, if you would call it. So this is more or less like a compass and a caliper. You know, what we're just saying that these are some of the things that were used in the engineering room. I would say that the railway had a very strong and important engineering and drawings room going forward. So these are some of the relics from that time in terms of the hands-on expertise that you can say trails the railway till today. So what we have here are 4 items that, like we said, depicts the rich history of the railways. This is a typical bench or a seating that you can find across the railways, you know, sometimes sitting in the train or a waiting area, but this is a typical bench design that was used at the time. But I think this is the most exciting for me because I like when people come and then they ask, what is this? This is an air alarm, and in this air alarm, it is used to signal an oncoming train for people who are walking on the tracks. So what happens is that, well, this is before the advent of the trains now had their own horns and sound, is that once a train is coming, you would have somebody, an onlooker, do this. And when he does this, he is telling people that a train is coming, a train is coming.
Amazing, it still has the sound.
Yes, it does still have the sound. And I don't know, maybe I'm not eating today, but it sounds sharper than this normally. I mean, these buckets are, you know, original coal. This is original coal as dug from Enugu. So we always like to show people that this is when they say the steam engine, this is what they, you know, meant in terms of using the coal to pump into. And we do still have some of those original engines, you know, in the other museum.
What does it weigh? Okay.
You know, they come in different, you know, sizes, but yeah.
I never envisaged that it would be this heavy. Like they put in the coal.
Okay, it is this heavy. And this is the last item. This is a kerosene fridge. And you know, when things were now becoming more industrial, as you can see, nothing gives it away as it is not. But what you would notice is that it has a kerosene canister. So what will happen is that people would fill in kerosene into this, light it up, and it would burn. And then it will cool in return, cool in the fridge. So the point of lighting is at this end. You know, you would light it up here and then it would burn and, you know, the heat would go on and all this detail of compressor and whatnot. So these were some of the very novel technologies that the railway was bringing to Nigeria because of the industrialization.
And it eventually, of course, moved from here to
what we have now. But I must say, I think at this juncture, you know, the importance of the railway was that it was really the thing that connected the country. As a matter of fact, the railway, the Lagos Railway and the Barukano Railway were joined in 1912. And if you remember, Nigeria was amalgamated in 1914. So those were the critical decisions that were made, that they had to connect it for whatever reasons. But it was that they had to connect to make a national entity out of it. And the railway is the skeleton, I must say, of this idea of a Nigeria.
Let us go there and see those things that being used in those days, our forefathers. In those, as we have the pump trolley, the rail bicycle, and the rail car. Right. Now, this pump trolley is the one that we first start using. So the technical officer will sit down here, and we have 4 men here doing the pumping. So they start to pump. The technical officer, what he does is that he keeps checking the tracks to see where there is a mistake, when if the slippers, the track are not in conformity.
Okay.
Right. So
they do this.
they pump it.
Oh, wow.
They,
Pump it.
Just stay. So you pump it. Back. Yeah, back. Up. Yeah. Yeah, press down, press down. it's very, because you know, to move front is more easier than.
The pump trolley used for track inspection in the early days of railway operation in Nigeria was manually operated by 4 men. It's not a task for the weak.
In those days, this pump trolley is used in checking the tracks. So the technical officers sit down here, and we have 4 men that will be doing the pumping to make the pump trolley to move. The business of the technical officer is to make sure that it's continuing to check the track and to see that all those things are okay before a train can move on them. Now we have the rail bicycle. So this rail bicycle is used in sending a message from one station to the other. It doesn't go more than that, from one station to the other. You want to send a message from station A to B. So you quickly go on the rail bicycle to use. Now we have the rail car. So the rail car is used after this, because you know this one is manual, but the rail car is made with an engine, diesel engine. So it does the same way. Use it in cross-checking the tracks to make sure that everything is intact before any train can be allowed to go on it. That's it. And we have also the water column. That water column is where the steam locomotive will collect the water. So fill up with its tank with that water before it starts moving. Must have collected this coal, full load, for him to travel with. And at the end of that, we have the buffer stop. So the buffer stop is found at the parking area. And at the end of any track, there must be a buffer stop, so that a train is allowed not to go beyond the rail track. And we have a railway crossing. That railway crossing, I'm sure most of us must have been seeing it on the road. So that one is just like a caution, giving us a caution that you are approaching a place where the railway is crossing.
We make our way to the running shed. It is a place where locomotives are usually housed, repaired and maintained when not in use. But for this piece of engineering, there is no going back on the track besides the one it is sitting on. Old, rusty, down and out, the train ran its last race in the 90s. The museum is trying to preserve as many artifacts as possible, but that seemed like a tall order. The materials are not in one place. The neighborhood still enjoys a level of serenity and green vegetation. The singing birds and the cock crowing give a sense of a country home, and one can easily forget that this is Lagos, the ever-busy city. We caught up with 90-year-old engineer Nath Okoro, nicknamed the Authentic Railway Man. Is the first indigenous managing director of the Nigerian Railway Corporation. He says Ebute Metta is the cradle of the Nigerian Railway.
When the whites came here in 1898, they found that the pressure from the industries in England and in Europe were asking for our raw materials, our resources, to be transferred back to them. They didn't come here to help us to build a nation. You know the story. Okay. But the railway was there to help them take the natural resources, minerals, agriculture, whatever products, to England. and bring what they have manufactured into this country. That's why they needed the railways. Two, they needed the railways because when they were able to link up the south and the north, they wanted to be able to move their officers in peace. So they focused on the railways for the industry requirements, for the internal use. Then come 1914 war, and they needed to recruit people from most of the places and move them by rail. But it was the pride of the nation at the time. What changed situations started in real facts from 1963, when politics became the tone of the nation. Most of the early railwaymen here were from Sierra Leone and from Ghana. I hope you get me. Then the local people here. So when they moved to Okera, the white people moved to Okera. That's the present railway headquarters, where we live in Ebute, Metta. That area is called Okera. Did you know that? Well, that's the name. Okay? That Okera was first round from the market area. That was Okera. It was the white people. We were about the first group of black men to live there. Because I went to England in 56 and came back in 59. Okay? And that's where I went to live. I hope you get it. That's how it is. Ebute, Metta also, and Yaba, were for railwaymen. It was railway that developed them. And you have me say Enugu, most of those towns were developed by the railways. Ebute, Metta was where the British stayed, in Okera. They paid, I don't know how much it was now to buy Okera. All the buildings there were before, most of them were before 1900. Why am I telling you this? You asked me whether Ebute, Metta has a... During that time, they now wanted to transfer the railways to Abuja, the headquarters to Abuja. How you get me? I went to the railway office in Abuja. I was then consulting for them because of their 100 years life period in Nigeria. I was then consulting for them, trying to arrange for the celebration, only to find out in the course of doing this that they were planning to move railway headquarters to Abuja. By this time, Post Authority had started building beautiful edifices there, the headquarters in Abuja. I protested. I protested to the minister. I said, so why should they move the headquarters to Abuja when everything is down in the railway? I went down to Ebute, Metta. Most of our records were all over. They were using them to wrap granite and so on. So we lost a lot of things just to move to Abuja. A professor came to see me here. He met me in my library. And he saw behind some books, mathematics, physics, chemistry. He said, what are you doing at 87? Then I was 87. What are you doing with this? I said, oh, by the way, I'm writing the mathematical theory of the dot. You know what a dot is? I'm writing the mathematical theory of the dot. So he said, mathematical theory of the dot. I said, all right, not to waste your time. That dot, what does it represent? Is it a triangle? Is it a rectangle? Is it a circle? He said it looks more like a circle. I said, okay, what's the circumference of a circle? That he remembered at once. 2 pi r. I said, okay, what's the area of a circle? He says pi radius squared. I said, the pi you are talking about is 22/7. He said, yes. I said, your background is physics? He said, yes. I said, yeah, that's right. Although you are specialized in mathematics. He said, yes. I said, in the railways, it doesn't work on the track, on the ground. It works on rail lines. He said, yes. I said, don't you think there are quite a lot of forces that must be fighting, including the sun? He said, I said, because it is made of steel. If it's made of steel, what happens? High temperature, it expands. Could say pressure. And you have to compensate that for a train running, otherwise it comes and it can derail. So how do you do that? He said, what's the coefficient of linear expansion of steel? He's a mathematics professor. I said, what's the coefficient of linear expansion of steel? He did that. I said, don't worry. When you get back, check LT equal to LO into 1 plus AT squared. I said, length at final temperature is equal to length at original temperature plus acceleration times time squared. So you go and check it. So you have helped me with the solution. Bye-bye.
Not many 90-year-olds still use their computers, but engineer Nath Okoro is a custodian of railway history and has a lot documented. It is established that Ebute Metta is a place of history, and as far as the railway is concerned in Nigeria, a lot has happened and the community has grown over time with a lot of people and infrastructure. But there's a whole lot more that needs to be done. That's our package for today. If you miss any part of it, you can watch it on our YouTube channel. You can also follow the conversation on our social media platform. Thank you very much for watching. I am Darido. Bye for now.